I would like to share with you some really exciting news. Something that I couldn't even believe was possible. After I had an interview with FABELLA of Filipina On The Rise in New York City, several weeks later, she was like, look, Tez, I think I really need to take a break from Filipina On The Rise just to see what the next phase of that is gonna look like. And I think you're gonna be instrumental in helping me do that. She offered me the opportunity to step in as the host of Filipina On The Rise while she is on her break. So, what I'd like to share with you is the interview where we introduce the concept of rest and how rest is a revolution that we absolutely need to take seriously, and how the fact that she's taking a rest is not only creating an opportunity for her to take a break, reassess, and figure out how to put herself on the best possible trajectory for success, but also creating an opportunity for me to step into a new realm of being a Filipina American creative. It is just such an honor to be able to contribute to this conversation, share our stories. Let's get to the interview.
Welcome to the Filipina On The Rise podcast, where I spotlight Filipino women doing big things and making an impact. I'm FABELLA, and my mission is to promote Panay excellence, empower our community through our stories while telling the world about us, and celebrate what it means to be a Filipina. Part of that is always coming back home to why we do this. And it's all about connection. It's all about how can we show up in this world authentically? How can we relate to each other through our vulnerability and our stories? We are here first and foremost to embody who we are, not to be tied to work and purpose. And I am always excited at the end of the day to connect with you, dear listeners, to connect with our community, to really hold sacred space for the personal things that we go on in our life. That's why I'm really excited to be interviewed on this episode and talk about something important coming up, which is a big break, but it's a big pivot, not just for me, but for this brand. And I am so honored to have on this show Tez Milan, who I will introduce. She's a soul sister of mine, and she will be carrying the baton as I step away from the podcast for a while to grab the mic, literally, and keep the movement going. Filipina On The Rise is about having us own our stories, step into our excellence, and really celebrate everything that means to be a Filipina. Sometimes that requires us to really stop what we were doing and to take a pause and reflect, and that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. And I truly believe that the work that you create, whether it's a brand, a business, a project, it's an extension of you, and your energy has to be protected in order to bring the right energy to things. And that's what I'm doing, just to honor this work that we're doing. I always want to make sure the right energy is being brought. Right now, I have to heal. I have to reorient and ground myself because shit's been hard, and I can't show up if my cup isn't filled. We're going to talk about the lessons that I have, the message that I want to pass on to each of you in terms of rest, the revolution around rest and taking time for ourselves. And thank you, Tez, for hosting this show now. Tez just brings on such a great energy. I'm just excited by how this is going to pivot and also empower all of you, dear listeners. I want to pass the mic to you and have you introduce your amazing self.
Wow, I feel like this is the very moment when I'm stepping into some really big shoes, because the Filipina On The Rise community and the podcast and everything that it stands for means so much to me personally. And I also see what it means to everybody who listens, everybody who participates, everybody who gets to experience what this is about. And so to have the honor of taking the microphone for the time being, to give you a place to rest, to also just to tell your story. That's a part of the resting process, I feel, is to just kind of process everything that's happened, everything that's happening in the moment, and everywhere that you want to go. To be able to have that conversation with you is such an important part of the healing process. In therapy, where it's okay, the talk, the conversation, the processing is the healing, the recognition, the awareness.
I've been really quite honored to see how this community has grown. I built this podcast from one of the darkest places in my life because it was my light. It was the way I could find my own voice again by giving voice to other people. And quite frankly, I'm not there anymore. I'm not in that bad place. I'm not in that abusive, toxic place anymore. But now I'm starting to see we've built this thing. We're doing the podcast, the events, the interviews. We're traveling, we're building. Your body still stores things. and it tells you what you need. And for so long, I haven't been listening to it. And y'all, you can't run from that. It comes to a point where you just need to say, I'm proud of this, but I think I need to go back. Your past self has worked so hard to survive, to get through and to build you up. And then you need to meet her kind of back where you left her and say, hey, let's take care of you now.
How are you going to be doing that? What does that rest look like for you?
Yeah, what does rest look like for any of us, right? When you come from an immigrant background and you grew up seeing your whole family always on their feet, just really hustling. And even when your mom or dad gets home or your titas, they're kind of like making sure everyone is taken care of. They're always running around. And so rest is very radical, you know, the concept of it. We think we take rest for like a week or we do yoga and meditation, but I think we never think of rest as like a state of being. Maybe you're not producing all the time. Maybe you're not attached to labels and identity. Maybe you are just day to day learning, this is what it's going to look like for me. This is all me doing, because I feel like what I've learned about myself since I was young, I've operated from a place of like proving to my family, to my community, because I didn't go in the regular healthcare, medical, finance, legal path. I left home and I picked up and moved to a new city and started over with no job, wanting to be in tech and wanting to be in creative, wanting to be an entrepreneur. I was like, we have to prove them all wrong and never stop, because the minute you stop, then you're gonna fail and everyone's gonna say, I told you so. I've been operating from that place of like proving and performing, this like weird fear that if I step off the train and take a prolonged rest and break somehow, it's all gonna go away. And I realized this anxiety that I feel, I don't know if y'all ever feel like there's anxiety that you can't quite put your finger on it. I do think it's generational sometimes. I think that we carry a lot of pressure because of our history or your family history or the sacrifices made to just like, you can't stop. I observe living in Austin, Texas, like white people a lot around me who like know how to rest and they know how to like have a good time and just like be in this other energy. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. It's so crazy. Rest is like, it's not just like, oh, take a vacation. And like, I think it really is a state of mind that we have to shift to. Unprogramming, unlearning, scarcity mentality. It means healing what we need to, healing stuck energy in our body, going from the performance mode that we've been in. For me, it's a lot of perfection. And I'm not saying that like I'm going to take this rest sabbatical period and it's all going to go away. This is something we practice. To practice presence, practice play, practice all this other opposite shit that we've been taught, and it's okay to take time to do that.
Yeah.
Like I need to, because I want to do so much for this community, but I feel disconnected from it all sometimes, and I'm not showing up for myself. And you can't do that with your life. That's not what our life is about. I don't think our life is about purpose even. I think we've glamorized ambition and purpose so much that we forget that like it's okay sometimes to just be here because we're like worthy enough to be here. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I feel like what you're talking about is there's something, how do I say this? There's something much deeper and richer that you're seeking that you haven't been able to find by the doing, by the task mess. You know, I'll just preface what I'm about to say by saying that I'm not a religious person, but I think that what you're leaning towards is this idea of a deeper sense of spirituality and connection to our experience in this human body. In this experience in our human body and all of the world that we've created as human beings, there's so much pressure to live up to this ideal of what it is that we think we need to be as human beings, as opposed to just stepping back and going, I am here as an energetic soul, as I don't know what to call it. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I really feel that as Filipinas, we have this thing about us that's so connected to that spirituality. Again, it's not religion. There's such a depth to us that if we don't tap into that, we suffer. We're struggling to, like you said, prove to ourselves, prove to everybody around us that we have value, that we have a place, instead of just going, we are the place, by living our stories, by giving to our community in a way that's even and equal, not just, I got to give in order to like show that I'm giving. It's like, I just got to give because I see that someone's in need and I'm able to give in this moment. I see someone's in need and I'm not able to give in this moment because I need a moment to rest. It's all about balance. And also going back to your idea of practice, like it is, oh my gosh, it is a moment-to-moment practice. There's going to be moments, I'll just tell, because I've experienced this where I'm just like, oh, no, I'm resting and I'm so good, like the yoga routine. I'm so good. I did the yoga thing. And then I've done this. And then I'm like, but now I'm like doing the over-the-top yoga
and even
thing.
that you can like perform, right?
No. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy for us to just go there. We like need to really be so conscientious about allowing ourselves to show up, but then show up in a way that is in honor of not only the external world, but the internal world. And that is I believe, a spiritual practice. And
you're absolutely right.
Scratching the surface of it. It goes in so many directions because it like how it shows up is so varied for each person. And for you right now, it's in the resting. It's like your spirit is calling you to just take a moment and go, okay, what has happened? What is all of this? Which direction am I going now? And how can I share that with people so that they can experience and know that they're not alone in maybe the same sense of anxiety that they may be feeling too?
I mean, you touch on so many very accurate points. Filipino people are very deeply like rooted in the spiritual way of life. While I'll be gone for like 2 months, we are still gonna have episodes that are released, some backlogged ones, some Tez is gonna do. Tez, you wanna share?
I kind of don't want to say exactly who it is that I'm going to have on the show, but I do have a couple of really exciting guests that I have lined up, and they're all amazing women. So I look forward to sharing them with you.
Tez, thank you.
Thank you very much. I look forward to doing my best for you. That's it for the interview. I really hoped you enjoyed yourself. Be sure to tune into the Filipina on the Rise podcast, as well as come back here to the Filipino American Creative YouTube series. Thanks so much for watching. Fil-Am. Goodbye. I'll be like, okay, now I have my special guest, KRYSTL, who's coming to us from her relaxing abode in someplace in the world.
What is this podcast? Never heard of it.